You're listening to a Countout Podcast.
Welcome to the very first episode of the rebirth of Your Dose of Death podcast. It's yours truly, Loren. I know you guys have been waiting a really freaking long time for this. I know I've been teasing and anticipating, and I hope you guys listened to episode 0 and saw how I've been handling kind of the hiatus. But I'm not alone on this one. I've been trying to figure out for the longest time who my first guest would be. I thought wrestlers, I thought talent, I thought promoters. I scoured far and wide, but I had to bring this guy on because not only have our paths aligned very much so, but he's become a good friend of mine. He's someone I've seen literally travel the country for this, and I'm really happy to have him as the very first guest back on Your Dose of Death, a guy who I become one of honestly the best and brightest deathmatch referees I know going right now. I have to introduce these introductions. Come on now. I'm talking to the one, the only, the Peacock Ref, Jimmy Deacon.
You get me fucking emotional and barely just started, man. God damn.
But Jimmy,
Loren, thank you for having me. Thank you for this opportunity, man. Truly.
Of course. I mean, you have flourished. I mean, we'll talk more about your journey to being a referee, of course. But, I mean, again, congratulations on all you've done. Of course, you've seen him as one of the main referees at Ruthless Pro Wrestling. You have seen him as a referee at the H2O Ken, which we'll get into a little bit later, and your roots there because they are deep. They are very deep there.
Very deep.
But you have seen him all around the country, making towns, getting names. You know it. I think my first question I want to start off with, Jimmy, is what made you want to become a referee? Actually, I should rephrase. Going back to when you first maybe got into professional wrestling, what made you sit there and say, I want to be a referee one day?
So what caused me to end up being where I am now as a referee is honestly just circumstance. So I went into H2O. And did my tryout, did everything, became a student for the express purpose of wanting to eventually become a wrestler, and then from there put in the work and be trusted enough to be a deathmatch guy. Now, I learned very quickly that part of dues, especially because we had our student shows every Monday then too on Discovereds. Part of that training was the new guys would learn how to be a ref and help out. That way we could work the Monday shows that were getting the guys who were closer to making their main roster debut better and also help us out. After my first practice match during one Thursday night, I very immediately realized reffing is a lot more fun than I thought it would be, and that I was going to enjoy this part of my journey. Then as time went on and I started getting to do all this, I realized, you know what? Especially after I came back from my hiatus, which I know we'll get into later as well. I had to talk and I realized, I'm having so much fun doing this. I can look myself in the mirror, and if I never get to wrestle a match, I can still say I had a good career. Like, I can still say that I would be happy with what I do solely as a referee because of just how much it was like cooking with me. Once I started doing it, I discovered I had a passion and I loved doing it. And it was just a load of fun. Like, it's great. It's such a great time. I get to help. I get to be a part of these moments while also honing my craft and learning from guys who have been around sometimes as long as I've been alive and getting their brains to help better myself. It's It's an incredible thing. And so it was all because I wanted to be a wrestler is why I then found out, hey, I could do this I could be a referee. I could do this shit and still be happy with how my life turned out.
Sometimes it is always just a matter of circumstance. And I think you're a perfect example of that. I mean, one path will lead you to another. And I think that's a very good thing to see. And I think also by dues, a wise man by the name of Neil Diamond Cutter once taught me that to get the most out of wrestling, you're going to have to get back to wrestling, however that may be. And you are a fine example of that.
Neil says.
Yeah, I was going to say our good friend Neil.
Smart man to listen to.
My next, tip, really when you're the referee, you're really like that. You're that person that's kind of like the equal balance in a match, whether it's a tag team, whether it's a death match, whether it's a singles match. You're really like that third person in the ring, taking care of the action, just making sure it's on an even keel in a way. And what was something that you learned quickly when you started reffing that you're like, oh crap, this is how things are from this point of view?
Well, I'll definitely say my first death matches. Even though, so it was weird, like because before I was a ref, I did a lot of crew, and I've been around a lot of deathmatch wrestling.
Yeah,
and I've been around a lot of a lot of good deathmatch refs. I've been like I had like a year of just being around like Adam Galt, Max Recon, Shiny Shoes. So I'm watching from them on the outside looking in. I'm like, okay, and I'm picking up on all the intricacies that a good deathmatch referee has. And so my first deathmatch is realizing just how involved physically you are. And the most watered down deathmatch gets me feeling the same way as one of the most involved normal matches, we'll call them, I could be in. No better example than Drake Younger and MM3. That I will stand by. That's probably one of, if not the best matches I have refereed. And first of all, shout out Angelo Parker out in the Midwest. If it wasn't for him offering his Kevlar sleeve, I would have never been able to do half as good a job. Shout out to the RPW crew, Ren, Mark, Mikey, everyone, and Jaina Pride, my fellow referee.
Jaina,
everyone was a clone of me. They all of combined assistances with me ensured that match went off as smoothly as possible, and I was able to do my job as well as I could. That's probably the cleanest I've ever had a ring in my career. I was legitimately out of breath and exhausted by the end of that match raising Malcolm's hand. It is a completely different animal, and you have to be ready for it physically, and you have to be ready for it mentally. I learned that Ultraviolent Kingdom, I got my first real injury. In the finals of that, right before Scum of the Earth, I got hit with an errant tube from going over the head, I think, of Roar or Bam. And it bounced, and it hit me in my lower leg.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
It felt like I just got punched really fucking hard. So you'll see it, and I'm not ashamed to say I was out of it for a bit because I rolled my leg, my sock down when the action was away from me, and I saw my leg open like an envelope, and I panicked a bit because I haven't been hurt like that before.
Yeah,
and you learn really quick that you just got to go with it. Like, as long as you're not like actively like gushing blood, I still have a job to do. And I could have done my job better that night. But I'll tell you that, after that night and after that match, that kind of position I'm never going to be in again. Because now I've learned, and that's one of those things you just gotta learn. You learn by doing, or learn by happening.
No, I remember the next day seeing you and seeing the wrapping on your leg. And I was like, "Oh, what happened there?"
Yeah, I was so in my own head. I was scared I wouldn't be able to make the flight because I'm thinking like, "Oh God, I'm gonna bust open on the plane. It's gonna be I was fucking fine.
Oh, man.
It bled once since the incident to now,
Yeah.
and that bleeding was like a month and a half ago, and it was that was because I picked the scab because I'm an
Yeah.
88
Yeah,
I'm an
right.
88 Asper.
We all do that though. That's just creatures of habit. We're gonna pick up something
Yeah.
that's not comfortable. I get it.
And then for wrestling in general, remembering certain positions to be in. Like you always knowing where hard cam is.
Yeah.
Working the hard cam is just as important for a referee as it is for the wrestlers.
Mhm.
Which is why I learned the almighty horseshoe. You work a
Yeah.
horseshoe on the far end of where hard cam is. That way you stay out of the way and you're not blocking shots while the guys
Yeah.
do their thing. Those are the real lessons that stuck out to me that I wasn't fully prepared for, but had to learn by doing, especially when I came back into things.
Yeah. Also, shout out to RPW, man. That's me and
God
you. That's
bless
our
them,
home.
man. They gave me an opportunity.
They gave you an
Last
opportunity. They gave me
Mania,
an
and they
opportunity.
keep
Yeah.
letting me come back.
I mean,
There's no place else I'd rather call home in the Midwest
yeah.
than Ruthless Pro, than Flophouse, especially with everyone who that whole scene is just
Yeah.
both of them are incredible.
I've been meaning to say for a
show up and
while.
do my thing.
RPW kind of like reinvigorated deathmatch wrestling for the Chicago area because
Oh,
we
they
were
lit a
barren.
fire under my ass when it comes from a fan perspective.
Yeah. And I mean, just going to shows, but then bonding with guys like Peapod and all of them, and then just like getting the opportunities that I got as well. Because I was going to mention, you guys made it incredibly easy for me during the Drake 3 match to like be ringside and stuff, because that was probably the most nervous I had been for a match.
You're telling me.
Yeah, I know. But like, we both were feeling fucking nervous.
My partner, like, oh my god, I have this match.
Yeah.
She's like, stop freaking the fuck out. You're gonna do fine. And that was when I thought of just having crew and the other refs do perimeter, and now I offer to do that at every show when I help out.
Yeah.
And like I said, if it wasn't for Angelo Patrick, if it wasn't for Jana Pride, if it wasn't for the crew of RPW being willing to assist me in that match would not have gone on as smoothly as it did. That ring would not have been as clear as it was, and I would not have been able to perform as good as a job as I did. So shout out to them. This is a team goddamn effort from start to finish everywhere you go.
I have said it better myself. But I want to get into, you had mentioned that you did take a pause for a little bit.
Yeah.
And now, like, I mean, and as we talked a little off air, just you were very candid about that. I think in wrestling, I think it's hard for some people to be candid, but you are 110% unapologetically yourself. And I think for my listener, I think they would be honestly all about how honest you are, because we all go through our phases in life. We all go through our ups and downs. And I mean, with your ups and downs, you don't shy away from that. And I mean, what was it like when you took that pause? Because it was for a while.
Yeah. So I started out January 7th, 2022 was my tryout. Mm-hmm. I became a student. I'd been training for maybe 6 months, some point in the summer, and like I said, I'm not ashamed of my past. I did dumb shit. I don't do it anymore, and if it helped me telling shit helps someone else not get into a crappy position, I'm happy to. So at that time, I was really into I was really into drugs. I was really into coke, and it was a really bad and unhealthy habit. And because of that, it accentuated a lot of issues I was having outside of the ring and in my personal life, to where I'm knowing what I have to do, but I can't see the path to take it. Like the way I described it was, my eyes are looking down 20 different paths and none of them are the right one. My head was not on straight. So I'd say roughly maybe 7 or 8 months. An amicable split between myself and training and H2O happened, and I thank Matt and Chrissy and everyone for allowing that to be amicable, because I just knew I couldn't go into that ring and say that I'm 100% in it. And if I did that, God forbid someone gets hurt, it's on me, whether we're training or whether I'm refereeing. So I had to take a step back to get my shit together. And that took about 10 to 11 months. During that time, we lost someone who I looked up to, someone who was my best friend's best friend, SPO. And watching how now we had met a few times, but I looked up to him. He was a great referee.
Fantastic referee.
We had a few fun interactions, and like I said, he was my best friend's best friend. He was Hoodfoot's boy, and watching how that affected everybody that night at No Man's,
Yeah.
and knowing that it made me question whether I even wanted to come back, because I was miserable, and so I stopped going to shows as much. I kept doing my dumb shit, and then one day, I'm having a conversation at the old Westville venue with a buddy, and I've told him multiple times. I think if it was not for this conversation, this wouldn't be happening now. Nothing I've done would be happening. And he asked how I was doing, and it wasn't like a "how you doing." It was a legitimate "how are you?" Talk to me. And I was full frontal, and I told him like my depression's kicking my ass, all this is going on. He went, "You like to partake, right?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I smoke, I snort." Like, "Did you ever think of like microdosing mushrooms?" I was like, "I've always have, but I never." Like, "Listen, if I ever find any, I'll let you know and help you out, because if there's one thing I've learned that this psychedelic is able to do, it's make you objectively look back at yourself and make you fix your shit." Fast forward to June of 2023. I take mushrooms for the first time, and it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life when it comes to mental and emotional clarity. I call it was like a mental oil check. And it started helping me feel better and get more uplifted. So every month or so, I would do a small trip to just check up on myself and try and get my life back on track. Fast forward to September of 2023, I believe it was homecoming weekend.
Yeah.
Also, I don't recommend like going by fighting your demons like I did. I was looking for anything that worked at that point. There are a lot better and smarter ways, but I will say the microdosing of psilocybin does have good medical effects for the mental health. Don't do it how I did. Do it smart, and this is why I say this. I tripped for an entire weekend.
Wow.
I ate a half ounce of mushrooms, and tripped in the hotel room from Saturday to Monday.
Wow.
I went to sleep tripping. I woke up tripping. And during that entire 3 day, what was happening in my head was I was having a conversation with your Jiminy Cricket, with your inner voice. I was having a third person conversation where it was laying out everything that had been going on in my life. I was admitting to the things I was doing wrong and telling myself I wanted to get better. That conversation ended with, "Listen, you're not a failure if you learn from something. You didn't fail at wrestling. It just wasn't meant to be at that time. And you understand that, and you objectively know that to be true. However, if you still really want to make something of this, you got to fucking recommit right now." And so after I came down from that weekend and I got home, I messaged, I remember the first two people I messaged Sean Henderson and I messaged Eric of Bloodstorm Pro, and I told them, "Hey, I think I'm coming back. You need a referee, you let me know." They both gave me opportunities. I got another opportunity in Philly, got my first death matches, and I started making a comeback. A couple months later, Tremont reached out. I was like, we could use another ref. If you're back, would love to use you. I said, absolutely. I got flown out to Vegas 3 months in by the MRU.
Marks R Us, yeah, our boys.
Now officially patched in. But my problems, because I got back and I thought I was fine, I was still abusing cocaine. And that came to a head earlier this year. I'd been doing it for 2 years, and it was a hell of a 2 years. And just one day before TOS, I just woke up at home and I went, I don't fucking want to do this anymore. It was like the allure wore off. I was like, I don't need this shit. Like I need to grow up. And so I had a plan to just wean myself off it because, like I said, I abused this drug. I was doing it in very large quantities. So I was planning to wean myself off so that by New Year's this year, I could maybe stop doing it. That all went to, hell and high water. The unfortunate passing of another one of my good friends, Ryan Clemson, aka Clem DK. That kind of spiraled me, and I went from weaning to I'm going to quit cold turkey. I went on a horrific bender. I woke up after it and just stopped cold turkey. I went through severe withdrawal. Had a lot of demons, a lot of urges, a lot of want to just go back at every minor inconvenience. But I had to keep telling myself that it wasn't worth it. And it's not. It is never worth it. Relapsed 2 weeks later, and by that was that I knew I was going to be around it. And instead of expecting me to be miraculously, I don't want it, I told myself, if I fuck up, it's fine. Just this is where you stop. I fucked up. I held myself accountable, and I started over with a better mindset. And as of this recording, and as of today, I am 4 months clean from for 4 months, and I can tell you it's one of the greatest things I have ever chosen to do in my life. Because all that shit is going to do is exasperate all of your problems. It's going to make things you're trying to ignore glaringly obvious. It's going to fuck with your mental well-being. And it was rough. Doing shit like this, it's rough. It's not going to be easy, but if it was easy, it wouldn't be worth it.
No.
Since finally getting through the urge of just every minor inconvenience, I'd be fine if I just had a line. That was about the first month and a half, 2 months. I've refocused on myself, found therapy, because even if you don't think you need it, it doesn't hurt to have someone to talk to. And I finally accepted that. I've turned my life around for the better because I know that if I didn't, I most likely wouldn't be here either in a professional capacity or in a living capacity. Everything I've done was legitimately of my fault. And I've owned up, and owning up is probably the hardest thing to do outside of, righting your wrongs. But once you own up to it, it makes things a hell of a lot easier. And people ask me all the time about it. I have no issue talking about the shit I did like this with you or anyone who listens, because I'm of the mind that even if I'm a nobody, nothing doing type person, if someone comes across me talking about how I got over my demons and it helps them in any sort of capacity, I've done my job. Because I want a world where everyone eats at everyone's table. No one goes hungry. No one struggles and fights alone. Everybody has somebody, and everyone gets brought up by their friends. It's not worth the drama. It's not worth the pain. It's not, and it's just the drugs aren't worth it. And it took me 2 years, but I'll always remember that day when I woke up and my brain just went with no real reason, just went, I think I'm kind of done with Coke now. And that was the start of getting me to where I am now. Every day is a better day. Every moment is a moment that I can actually remember and recall months from now. And it's just 3 weeks in, my partner and my friends were saying I looked healthier. I've only started realizing it now 4 months in, but the immediate effects were noticeable. And you look better, you live better, you feel better. Those are That's the shit I went through.
Damn. I mean, all the kudos, all the credit in the world to you for enduring that. I mean, 2 years, especially because I'm when me and you first met, you were I don't even think you remember the first time we had truly actually met. I think it was during Hammerstein weekend, the first Hammerstein. I think we had met in New York City, but I think you were
No,
just doing other things.
I'm telling you right now, I was tripping so hard at that show.
Yes,
I don't remember.
yes.
I didn't see a single minute of wrestling, and
Well, it was the
that's
New
still one
Fear
of the top
City.
five shows of my life.
It was the New Fear City show we had actually met.
Yes, I
I,
was on Molly.
yeah,
I was high.
and that
I
was
don't
the
remember
first
anything
thing you
anymore.
had talked to me about. But the
My,
glow up,
my pupils were like
yeah,
this, and I was just smiling and happy to be
yeah,
there.
you were in a mood, as I say.
Yeah, I was euphoric. I was lucidly euphoric.
But for meeting you back then to now to seeing you grow, and I mean, honestly, the thing that impresses me most is holding the accountability because that's the hardest. That is so hard to hold yourself
It's
accountable, and
when you're a stubborn motherfucker,
it just
holding yourself accountable for negative things is so fucking rough. But you gotta do it.
you gotta do it. And I mean, it just like I have so much respect for you just getting yourself out of that hit, like that downhill spiral. And like, I mean, you brought yourself, and as you said, like you're already around the country. You're as of this recording, 4 months cold turkey. I mean, it's pretty incredible stuff. And I mean, again, I mean, we both have lost because Sean SPO was one of the very first people to ever want to come on this very podcast. Like he DM'd me on Twitter X, whatever the hell you want to call it. He's like, I want to come on, and we made it happen. Ryan Clemson was one of the very first East Coast friends I truly had. We actually connected over an FMW belt that he had sold to me, if you could believe that. And I paid for it. He shipped it to my house, and we kept in touch ever since. And it feels crazy they're both gone. And I was at No Man's Land that night when he passed, and it just the impact that he had
You
on
would have thought
people.
you can watch that back and you see the exact moment everybody in the crowd saw shit about it, and
So to kind of pull back the curtain on that.
it was like everybody just lost their family in front of their very
Yeah.
eyes. The way the entire mood just was obliterated because he was that positive of an influence on everyone he was around.
Yeah. I was very involved with No Man's, and SPO had actually asked me to get to see who to talk to rep that show. And I like just not seeing him there. It was literally like I had lost another brother that night. So I miss him dearly every day. His interview is still here. That's like one of the few episodes I will make damn sure never leaves this
Never gets
podcast.
scrubbed.
No, like I will make sure to the ends of time that episode stays up. And I mean, I dedicate. I try to live vicariously for how Clem would want. So, through adversity, through loss, through everything you've gone through, it makes you appreciate the things that you do now, right?
Yeah, and
It really does.
especially with him knowing how he was as a person, and Clem was a massive advocate for, as I put it, people getting their shit together.
Yeah.
Like if it was like just making your life a better one to live, and being clean doesn't fix everything. You still have your peaks, you still have your valleys. The valleys still fucking suck. They're just more. They're more easily bared. They're more bearable than when you're in the midst of doing dumb shit.
Yeah, that's true.
But when I'm and I'll be real, I'm kind of in a valley right now. But I always think of Clem just he'd lift you up, tell you like, hey man, this shit's temporary. Don't do anything dumb. Tomorrow's another fucking day. And he thinking of how he would feel got me really through like the first month and got me through that withdrawal.
Yeah.
Because I knew he would be proud of what I was doing and what all of us were doing as his friends.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Mama Clem. I finally got the chance to talk to her on Facebook a few months ago and give her my 2 cents how Ryan was a huge influence on me. I hope she's doing well. I know I've been through grief on many occasions, so I understand exactly where she's been. But I just hope she's doing well. I wanted to ask as well. I mean, you kind of gave us your insight as being a deathmatch referee, and you've given us already some great stories as well, which I appreciate. And you did mention that Drake, and I don't think it was probably one of your favorite matches you've ever done. I mean, that's a match of the year for me, hands down.
Same.
What have you found easier to do? Because we have deathmatch tournaments, of course, but doing a tournament versus a full show that isn't a tournament, I'm genuinely curious. What have you found easier to do?
So,
because it's not like there's no death matches. One thing, they're both are death matches, but one's a bit more pace than one's a whole tournament.
So, I would say, honestly, this might be crazy too. I think King of the Kill is probably one of the greatest shows I've ever done. One of the greatest shows I've been a part of. Overall on every like check spot of, hey, do I think this is a good show? I also think it was one of the easiest shows I've done. And why I think that is the energy was there. There was no dip in the energy.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you know it or not, that shit is felt and it helps. We're watching Schlack and Jeff open.
Yeah.
He hits the Gonzo, the gnarliest Gonzo bomb we saw. A couple of us are losing our shit behind commentary. Just like, oh boy, this is a hot fucking show. This is the one. This is how it's gonna be. Let's go. So having that energy makes things 10 times easier. Then everyone I was in the ring with, I had worked with at least once in some capacity.
Yeah.
So I already know how, like, an idea of how they structure matches.
Yeah.
So I'm able to comfortably go like, what's the finish? And then what's the finish? What else do I need to know, if anything? And be able to go from there. So being in the ring, that confidence made it easier as well. And then just at that point and at this point, the ebb and flow of a death, like the autopilot of a deathmatch referee had become just that for me, autopilot. I know what to look for. I know what I'm doing. I know what to ask. I know what to see. So I was able to just do my thing with a severely dropped amount of stress than I would normally have. Just be able to just get in there, make sure everything goes well, while also feeling this energy from the crowd and from the boys in the center of the ring. Just keep me amped up and keep me paying attention. Yeah. And then by the time the main event happened, I'm pretty sure I told Kohlenberg, a couple guys, I was like, I feel like I could have Iron Man'd this entire fucking show and I wouldn't have been tired. Like that's how quote unquote easy it was. In reality, there's nothing easy about what I was doing.
No, of course.
And there's nothing. And also, with King of the Kill, shout out Joe Coley.
Oh, my
boy.
My dude, the Raleigh finger satch, baby.
Incredible. He stepped up. We had like 2 separate refs that like unfortunates happened because of illness.
Yeah.
He stepped up. He was an absolute pleasure to work with. Fucking killed it in the ring.
I was very happy. I've known Joe for a few years because I would go to the Insane 8, and he would always rep the Insane 8. My first Insane 8 was
Milwaukee, right?
Yeah, Milwaukee. That was my first time I met him. And I was like, this ref's, but a few years later, seeing him improve as a referee, I got to watch him ref at Wisconsin Death Trip and now doing King of the Kill. I was like, dude, I am so happy you're getting these opportunities. He has gotten better
He's
as a
great.
ref.
I can't wait to see him again. But I think it's solely because of the energy that you get from tournaments.
Yeah.
Like the vibe. That's what makes it, at least to me, easier than just a normal show. Because a normal show, you never know how the crowd's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
In the tournament, you just know crowd's going to be hot. They know what to expect.
Exactly.
Like they know what to expect. They know what they're waiting for. So while there's nothing easy about what I was doing in the ring,
They just found it easy.
It felt easy because of the energy. That was just a whole other animal out there in that field. I've not had a show come close to the aura of that entire weekend.
Mind
From Flophouse
you,
to King of the Kill to everything in between.
So I don't know if you remember this from my point of view. So King of the Kill, there was only one match I literally could not fully film, and that was Otis and Shrema, because during the Otis assault, the shard hit my chin, and I was gushing. And I'm like, first of all, shout out to Leo Brand, who was like, you need to go to the back. And Ryan Beavers as well, the Flophouse Cup man. He helped me out. And of course, we had
a hell of a crew around us.
Yeah. And
shout out to everyone.
Yeah, shout out to them because they got me patched up with the bandage. That bandage came off like 5 minutes because I was like, no, because I had drank before, and I think it's just extra from that. If I hadn't drank before that, I'd be like maybe a little bleeding here and there, and I'd be fine. But the funniest thing ever, that show was next level, was the people who knew, are friends of mine or knew, like shout out the Martins, Jake and Cassie and their friends, and all, because they've known me forever. They see me and they're like, "You can't kill Loren, you can't kill him." And I'm like, guys, please shut up.
It's like, stop. Do not. I've done that to my friends before. Like,
I literally,
I'd be like, do not fucking make this about me. This is not about me. I love you guys.
I love it. But
Shut
I'm just like,
up, please.
I'm trying to work here. So middle of the one match, I just rip off the bandage, and I'm like, throw it down. I'm like, I'm doing this shit. Screw it. And then Kohlenberg is like, "Are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. Shit happens. I was just in the wrong corner at the wrong time." Yeah. So yeah, God, you are right.
I've had to pull one of those like turns, just been like the like really quick targeting with my friends because like I love them. You gotta love them, but at the same time you gotta be like, no, don't fucking make this about me.
No, it's so funny because I
love you, but shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like when I film, I just gotta kneel, wait for them to walk around. I was like, "Yeah, you're back." I'm like, "Shut up,
stop."
I love you guys. It was so funny though. Shout out to Becca. You know Becca, the photographer.
Yeah. So
she wasn't doing photo, but she looks at me. She's like, "What happened to your shirt?" I literally had to throw out my shirt, which bums me out. If Dad died because it was the shirt, because it was blood. It was like blood. It was Tad Dies that did it for me, and I had to throw it out because there's just so much blood. It was bad. I almost wanted to be like, "Can I sell this?" I'm not going to sell it. But no, shout out to everyone at King of the Kill. Just great experiences. That cornfield just. Also, though, Ref Coley gave me one of the most viral clips I've ever had. The Children of the Corn reference.
God, that was hysterical.
So do you know, by the way, who was yelling that line?
No.
That was Charles Moran. That was Charles Moran yelling that. I knew because I know his voice from a country mile away.
I didn't know that was the boy Charles.
And I told Dr. Redacted in the back, I'm like, dude, that's not signs. That's Children of the Corn.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't know. So that was a funny peel back to current moment.
But yeah,
this has been
energy.
So much great.
It's like full on, like all the energy. I think it makes tournaments easier because you already go in amped. You already know you're about to do some good shit. That's what it boils down to for me.
It's next level. So I will say, I mean, you've already done a lot in the short time too. Like you have really
Shockingly, I've been trusted enough in my first year to do this crazy shit.
It's not even been a year. That's the crazy thing. But I do have to ask, what are some things maybe, and this is kind of the floor is yours moment. What are some places? What are some people that you want to work with that you're like, I need to be with this guy. I need to rep this place. And I see this place. It's a vibe. I want to be there.
So, I would say, honestly, the fact that I don't really think there's anyone I could say like, man, I really want to work with him, thinking I never would. I think there's always a time and place for everything. Whoever I get to work with, and I always make the most of it and have a pleasure. That biggest one was Drake. I could not believe in 2024 that with X Brand first that I was getting to referee a fucking Drake Younger match in 2024, and it be as incredible as that. And then not only that, I got another one that was even crazier than the first. And then he put on apparently one day he did like a live on Facebook.
Yeah, he did a Facebook Live.
People were asking him, people were asking him about like guys he liked, and I get sent by Mikey from RPW a screenshot of a post. He's like, these are the wrestlers and the refs that are neither new or new to me that I really like watching or working with. And I'm looking down and I'm like, cool, there's Bam, he deserves that shit. Dimitri, yeah, Galt, of course, Scar. That's not my fucking name.
Yeah.
Like being able to work with Drake has been incredible, which is why I no longer take anything for granted with that. But companies I would love to work for, St. Louis Anarchy.
Oh, Anarchy, yeah.
I'd love to get out there. Just even if not to work, just to watch their product.
I've been meaning to check out Anarchy too. I hear you, man.
Deadlock, especially coming to Jersey City. Every show they friggin' put on is incredible.
Their Chicago shows have gotten better and better.
And with speaking of incredible shows, Prestige, man. Holy God, those Roselands are something else.
Shout out to not to Prestige themselves, but shout out to their camera crew, because Pacific North Death came out, and of course I think they were supposed to live stream, but just things didn't work. I had found out from Pacific North Death that the entire crew that works Prestige helped film and put Pacific North Death out within 24 hours after the show was
incredible. That's incredible.
They might be one of the best crews I've heard of, like streaming wise. That's incredible.
The company, I'd really love to work for them. Anyone really who would have me is on my list. I know that's a cop out answer, but it's the truth. Anywhere, any opportunity I get to do what I love, I'm ready and I'm willing. And I feel like I've been lucky / maybe I don't think jaded is the word. I think very spoiled. That's the word. When it comes to like the part of the question where it's like, who do you want to work with? Because it's like, because of where I train, like I've gotten to work Matt Tremont a number of times. I've gotten to work Ref Danny DeMonto, Drake Young, all of these huge names, and while also getting to pick their brains in the locker room and getting advice and critiqued and helped out. There's like, I don't really have a list of, hey, I want to ref this guy's match, or hey, I want to be on a show with this guy, because I've already been so blessed. I know that anyone I'm with is going to be a valuable opportunity to learn and get new experiences with.
Okay.
That being said, I've yet to work Akira, and if you ever see this, my buddy, we need to change that. I think I've been on a show with all of our friends except for you, and god damn it, we need to change that.
I don't know. I mean, I know a few dates that could potentially work out. We'll see.
We will.
But man, this has been such a pleasure to have you on, Jimmy.
This has been fun. Again, I'm truly blessed and thankful that you hit me up. It was like, I want you to be the first one back.
Like, again, as I said in the beginning, I had tried very hard to introspect. I'm looking at it right now. I have a little journal of like guests that I'm trying for this comeback, and you were at the top of the list. You're at the top of the
Which is
list.
crazy. It's crazy to me just because, like,
I mean,
out
I've
of
been
all
around,
the people,
and
all the people, you chose the guy whose job is to not be in the spotlight.
and yeah, of course. Like, yes, referees are supposed to blend in my mind instead of stand
We
out.
are.
But like at the same time, though, like
it ain't
you
about
have to
us.
you have to
ensure that we don't take
appreciate
spotlight.
you have to appreciate the work they do because again, like I think of referee as almost like the judge scales. You have to keep a balance, and it's the hardest shit in the world. I have so much respect for refs because you have to take care of person A, you have to take care of person B, C,
You have to
D,
know
or
what to
whoever.
look for in injuries too. But
Exactly.
that was also something that I learned very quickly. Like,
Yeah.
what the signs of of like a cut you can be like you're fine, or the signs of a cut where it needs to get like
yeah.
taped.
And I mean, we've seen it all too well with some of these wrestlers, especially recently. I mean, freaking hell, Doctor Redacted in Denver. That oof.
I still need to watch back.
I get like this extra anxiety watching like people that you know, like they're your friends doing death matches.
Oh, yeah.
And mind you, Redacted has become a very good friend of mine. And when I saw him get the arm cut.
That's what that was from. I saw the video of Brett taping the arm.
It was the Tokyo Tower. Just it didn't hit him in the head. It bounced off and hit him in the arm instead.
Okay.
And I mean, he still went on and shot an amazing promo for NGI, but there's just like this extra anxiety. I'm just like, fucking Doc.
I remember. I'm so glad I'm not alone. That I still get like Stretch and Chando when they did the Psycho Circus.
Oh, yeah.
I love you guys. I was like, I love you guys. Just be smart, like be safe, have fun.
That is such a gutsy step too, because the scaffold, the barbed wire, yeah.
Like Murdoch with glass ceiling, I was like, Murdoch, you know I'm not like this. Like there are reasons I have anxiety with that specific match.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first death match I ever saw live. As someone who didn't know what death matches was, and it's also the match that made me want to be a death match wrestler. But all that glass fucking panics me and shit. So I remember going back to John. I was like, dude, you know I'm not like this. You know I'm not. But like, just be safe, man. Like I'm like,
and John's like,
I'm freaking out in the ring, like banding up tubes. And I was like, I'm not like this. I'm not no pussy. But tell me you're gonna be safe. And he's just like, hey man, we're gonna get in there. We're gonna do our shit.
We're gonna do our shit.
We're gonna get out of there.
That is such a fucking Murdoch thing to say, man.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one who just when it's
even as a fan,
no one care about. You
even
get that
even as a fan, when I first was like getting into deathmatch as a fan and like first doing this, interviewing guys that I'm like trying to grow these friendships with, and I'm like, I'll zone out and be like, please. Just get the fuck out of this, okay? Please get the fuck out of this.
There are so many times there's been a spot that doesn't, especially like the Cage of Survivals, when I forget if it was Rena or Masha, the splash onto the hanging cage and the glass didn't break. I just remember them going back up, and I'm like, no, don't get this. I'm just panicked, like, don't do the spot, don't get the spot back.
That was my side, actually. I remember that. I was.
There's just some moments where you're like, you don't have to, you don't gotta, please,
but
don't.
You do
it. Like, fuck, there they go.
Man. But again, this has been such a pleasure to have you on, and
it's been a blast.
So to end this episode, and I mean, I really feel this has to be the way we end this. What is one piece of advice you could give maybe an aspiring wrestler, an aspiring referee, someone that maybe is newer? I mean, yes, you've only been actively refereeing again for a year, but like still, like you're at a point right now where you can give advice. Like independent wrestling / deathmatch to me, we're all in this together. We all want to grow, and I think. I definitely want to see what kind of piece of advice you give to anyone that's maybe watching this that's newer or wants to get into this.
So I have a couple. One, One pertains purely to wrestling. One pertains to wrestling in your life. So when it comes to the business itself, you gotta want. You really want. You really gotta want it. You really gotta know that this is what you want to do, because it shows. If you're just coasting or half-assing, it even if no one says anything, it gets noticed. So if you want to do this, make sure you want it. While you're doing it, something that I was told many times, and wasn't always listening to because of my bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Always ears open, eyes open, mouth closed. God, I could have shut up so much and saved a lot of BS in my life. Always be listening, always be learning, always be asking for advice, for critique, because you're not going to grow unless you seek a way to do so. I've seen guys in this business much longer than me, and will probably be in this business much longer than me, that still do things that a new kid on the block does. They ask for advice, they go over things, they help clean up, they help break down, set up. Always go out of your way to do the right thing. Whether it's getting there early to help set up, staying a little later, break down the ring, asking for advice about what you could do better or what looked good or not. Hell, I asked refs to watch certain matches of mine and give me critique.
Yeah.
Now, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything, and just be always willing to learn. Be able to take critique and make every single thing you do in the ring better than the last. When it comes to involving personal life, we all know the saying, and this is something that I most recently learned in the last couple of months and finally understood. A lot of guys will say that wrestling is their therapy. They have shit going on at home. They come in, they get into the ring, everything disappears. And I get that. And that was me for a long time. And it still is. However, wrestling as a therapy can only do so much.
Yeah, I agree.
You have to be aware of yourself mentally, spiritually, emotionally, just as much as you have to be physically when you're doing whatever it is you are in this business. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Do not be afraid to admit that something is wrong. Do not hold that shit in, because it's not worth it. And I promise you are not alone. Everybody has their peaks. Everybody has their valleys. If you think you're at your rock fucking bottom and there is nowhere to go, you're wrong. Because if you're at your rock bottom, the only way to go is up. And if you don't think you can do it alone, don't make yourself do it alone. Ask for help. Take a step back. Do what you have to do to make your life better. Because at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do and ignore until it builds up into a pile of bile and toxic crap that just off. And this has happened. This happened to me in July. One small thing, I detonated. I had a meltdown. I had a breakdown, and months and months of anger and bullshit that I kept pushed down and ignored because I just wanted to get to the next show came out of me, and that's not worth it. It's not worth doing that to yourself. We all have our peaks. We all have our valleys. Neither of them are permanent. Life is a roller coaster. You're never always going to be on top. You're certainly never always going to be on the bottom. And if you don't think you can get out of a hole on your own, you're not the only one there. Do not internalize your struggles. Ask. Reach out. I promise you, someone will be there for you, whether it's in this business or outside of it.
Yeah.
And I wish I realized that a long time ago, because it would have saved me a lot of trouble. And I don't want anyone to ever go through life whether it's in and out of professional wrestling, thinking that they are alone, because I did for a long goddamn time before this and during this. And it caused so much more pain than if I would have reached out and said, yeah, I'm not in a good spot. I need to vent. I need help.
Yeah, wow.
That I
Speechless.
It's why I have no shame in the dumb crap I have done.
Yeah.
Whether it was my drug abuse, whether it was my past with severe depression.
Yeah.
I have no shame being fully upfront about it, because I've learned from it, I've grown from it, and if it can help somebody else learn and grow, then that's all that matters to me.
That couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, you are a true embodiment of what it means, not only to just be in this business, but like to be around it, but also taking care of yourself personally, because we only have one life to live. We gotta make the most of it. I mean,
it's not worth treating yourself like crap when we only get one.
Exactly.
Sometimes you only get one opportunity. Yeah. You want to give the best you can to ensure that it is the best taking of that opportunity you can do. It is not worth going in with a mind full of suppressed problems that you're just trying to put off and thinking, I'll deal with it tomorrow. Don't put shit off. Nip it in the bud. Take it head on. The sooner you take care of it, the sooner every day becomes a better day.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's all I can say for that. I mean, this has been an incredible conversation with Jimmy. I really hope people that listen to this really get a better perspective of you and get a better perspective of, yeah, you're a referee, but this referee lived a sure as fuck interesting life. And also, this is a guy that perfect. No one's perfect. And like, we all go through shit, and like, you're just like everyone else going through the same ups and downs, peaks and valleys. So, I mean, again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I'm not even just saying that as a podcast, like as a friend too, for doing this. I mean, this has been nothing short of incredible. But also to end, I always like to do this. I'm bringing it back for the rebirth. This is my part of the show where I like to let my guests plug away. If you got anything to plug, anything that you want to promote, this is your time to promote. So, as I like to do, as always, the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, my socials, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. The app barely works half the time anyway. Facebook, all Jimmy Deacon or at the Jimmy Deacon. Feel free to follow me. Upcoming shows, I'm going down to Chattanooga, Tennessee for the first time with H2O to go rock Halloween down there. Then coming straight back up, we got last Monday night, November 4th for H2O. November 16th, we got H2O. We got Schlack versus Matt Tremont in the Cinder Block Canvas. Second time it's been done in United States Deathmatch.
Yep.
November 21st at the H2O Center, we got IGB 21, Intergender Bonanza. And then on the 23rd, you'll see me in Chicago for both Time Bomb Pro and Ruthless Pro Wrestling at the Berwyn Eagles Hall in Chicago.
Yes, sir.
Where I'm there after that is up to everybody else, but I can tell you this, you will be seeing me all week in Las Vegas for WrestleMania week. Killing it in Sin City. My second time back, and honestly, I couldn't look forward more to a week in my life than knowing I get to be back with the boys in Vegas.
Oh, man.
Rocking it.
I gotta figure out my Vegas stuff. Thanks for reminding me. But anyways, there you heard from the man himself, the Peacock Ref, Jimmy Deacon. From him, from myself, thank you guys for listening to this episode of Your Dose of Death podcast. Go follow Jimmy. Go support his journey. We're back, guys. I promise you, these wheels aren't falling off anytime soon. So, thank you guys for listening to this episode, and see you guys on the flip side.
Hello, my name is Jessica and I'm the host of Jumping Knee Pod, a modern day All Japan podcast. Join me and a guest each month as we cover all that went down in the ring, outside of the ring and everywhere else. Big title matches, tournaments, character arcs, storytelling, feuds and more. It's all covered on Jumping Knee Pod. Look out for a bonus episode every once in a while covering a variety of All Japan topics. So make sure you tune into Jumping Knee Pod. It's a new All Japan podcast for a new All Japan era.
This has been a Count Out Podcast.